The Florida Gators are back for training camp, and Billy Napier made some interesting comments.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Wednesday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. And yesterday was the Florida Gators reporting to camp. We got a roster update, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And there were a bunch of player interviews. There were a bunch of coaching interviews. There was a bunch. We will break down mostly what Billy Napier talked about yesterday. And we'll start with the injuries, which is how he started the press conference. But the injuries so far for players that were, I forgot what word he used exactly, but it wasn't limited. It was a word that I remember him saying, and I was just like, that's an interesting way to describe it that we don't usually hear. But of course, it was DJ Lagway, quarterback, TJ Dice, offensive lineman, Pup Howard, linebacker, Treyon Webb, running back, and Khalil Jackson, wide receiver. So almost exclusively on the offense, other than Pup Howard. He wasn't really giving details into things, which is not surprising. That's always going to be what Billy Napier does. He's not going to give details. He's going to kind of dance around it a little bit and then get you whatever information he's trying to get you. But, you know, we were expecting this, right? He had mentioned that the DJ Lagway injury happened about a week ago from yesterday, so 8 days now from the time that you're listening to this, if you're listening to this on Wednesday. But he mentioned that the DJ Lagway injury happened about a week ago. And like I said, I was told to expect him to miss the first week of camp. Again, I know that, you know, timeline reporting is different for all that. As in reporting on the timeline is different for all that. I know that not everybody has the injury or whatever the hell you want to talk about with it, or being honest. But the DJ Lagway injury is minor, right? I think that that's one thing that's been fairly consistent throughout all the reporting, no matter who it is saying it, is that it's a minor injury, that no one's really concerned about it. And I will say this, I don't want to say concern, but I'm more thinking about, I hate not having the reps more so than I'm worried about the actual injury. That's more so what I'm thinking about when I talk or look at this injury for DJ Lagway. Not surprising, but again, you know, guys are limited in the start of camp. Not surprising. He did mention, though, that there are a lot of guys that, I believe the word he said, or the verbiage he used was, we got a lot of guys who need to prove that we can trust them in the next month or so. And I do think that a lot of that is just about the supporting cast of this roster. You know, we've spoken about a lot of guys that are really young, and it's not that they're bad. It's that we don't really know what they are or what they're going to be. And so I think that that's a bigger focal point. But that's more on the defense. We'll talk about that later. But on the offense, one thing that Billy Napier mentioned that I do really want to, we're probably going to, knowing me and the way that I and the way that I speak, we're probably going to spend the rest of this segment talking about it. But Billy Napier had mentioned that this is the best supporting cast he's had for a quarterback here, on offense at least. And he's absolutely right? Like you look at the offensive side, and we'll go inside out. Offensive line, again, we're not going to talk quarterback. Offensive line, you've got Austin Barber, Najee Harris, Jake Slaughter, Damian George, Bryce Lovett, all quality guys. Like, look, I know that I'm not the biggest Damian George fan. I know that a lot of people aren't, but I'm not going to act like he's not at least improved at right guard. Still, Damian George and Cam Waits have that Miami play that means that, you know, if it were up to me, they'd never touch the field again for stuff like that. But new year, we'll wipe that slate clean. But I mean, that's just one of the best offensive lines in college football, right? You got 4 returning starters. You've got Rod Kearney there, Fletcher Westphal, Devin Manuel. You've got a lot of promising players out there. Your depth looks better than it's looked before. Jason Santamella, Marcus Maskell, who gained a good amount of weight, by the way, Marcus Maskell, and is starting last year, made the transition from guard to center. So now this is going to be his first full fall camp or full off season as a center. So we've got that change coming in as well. And then you look at tight end, Hayden Hansen, Tony Livingston gained, I think it was like 9 pounds. I sent it to the Insider program. I sent a bunch of the weight changes that were notable. Amir Jackson gained some weight, not a lot, not much, but gained some weight. But Hayden, Tony, Amir should all be significant contributors this year, right? And I'm not saying that they're going to be super productive. I'm never going to predict that for a tight end under Billy Napier, but I am going to say significant contributors in the blocking game and in the passing game, which, by the way, Hayden was last year. Tony worked his way into it, and we'll get to do even more of that this year. Really, really looking forward to that. It's nice to have a second tight end that's actually willing to block. So you got to love that. Running back room, Jaden Baugh, Jacoby Jackson, Tryon Webb is going to be healthy at some point. KD Daniels, Duke Clark. I think Duke Clark gained like 20 pounds from the time he got on campus. So that's been just a massive upgrade or a massive gain there. And then at receiver, you've got J. Michael Sturdivant is back. You've got Aiden Mizell, or J. Michael Sturdivant is here. Trey Wilson, Aiden Mizell are back. Tank Hawkins is back. Khalil Jackson will be back at some point. TJ Abrams gained a bit of weight. And then you've got the true freshmen, right? You've got Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown III, Nashawn Montgomery, which I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how much Nate Montgomery is going to play. But I do know that when he gets on the field, he's just, I don't know, he's dynamite. That's the only way I can describe it. He's just a dynamite receiver, absolute steal. Wearing number 0. Love it, right? You love the look there. But this is just, it really is the best supporting cast, especially under Billy Napier at Florida, because this is the best supporting cast Florida's had in over a decade. And I'm talking supporting cast. Not, again, you're not going to beat the Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney 1-2 combo. And even Damian Pierce, if you want to throw it in there for 1, 2, 3, but the rest of the talent around the offensive line, everybody there, best that you've had at Florida in a very, very long time. Part of the reason that the expectations are so high, because you've got that, and you've got an elite quarterback, right? So we're talking about that. The Florida Gators also have quite a bit of, we'll say, attention on their defense. We'll talk about that when we get back with Locked On Gators. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. So whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need the extra boost to stay sharp and energized. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code's not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. And we're going to talk about the Florida Gators defense here, because Billy Napier did make some comments about the defense that were interesting, right? First off, one of the big areas of concern that we've talked about a lot this offseason has been defensive back depth, right? Because you look at you look at the starters, and I think most people are comfortable with them, right? You look at the outside corners, it's Devin Moore, who, when he's healthy, is very good. Dijon Johnson, good. Honestly, borderline, really freaking good corner in the SEC. You look at the starters at safety, it's Bryce Thornton. Everyone loves him. Great IQ, great mentality, great vision as a safety, great versatility. He can do a lot. He's a playmaker. He goes out like he's a ball hawking safety. Love seeing it. You got Jordan Castell, who's very experienced, knows the defense, knows where he's supposed to be. He got beat, I think maybe, and I mean truly beat, maybe twice last year. And one of them was an overthrow, so he wasn't even forced to pay for it. It was against Tennessee. Yet Jordan Castell, I know he doesn't make the poppy plays that people wanted him to make, but he's out there playing responsible, reliable football. I'm cool with it. Like, that's fine with me. I don't need you to make the massive play, get the pick. Like, it's fun to do that, but if you're not doing that, but you're playing sustainable football, I'm happy with it. Nickel, Sharif Denson, Aaron Gates, maybe the best 1-2 punch in the slot in the entire country there. Again, I'll die on the hill. Sharif Denson's an awesome slot. I don't care what anyone says about it. So you got that. Then you look at the depth. Outside corner, Cormani McClain. Tremendously talented player, but we got to see it, right? And Billy Napier did indeed mention yesterday, Cormani McClain has added weight, which may help him in some areas that he needs to improve upon because it's tackling. Hopefully the added weight will help that. Then there's the mental communication, learning the playbook, knowing the playbook. Billy Napier was not shy about talking about what Cormani needs to do. But if he does that, it's going to be really good. But Cormani, depth, we don't know what he is, right? He's played 3 games as a Florida Gator. We don't know what he's going to bring to the table. Jameer Grimsley, also a red shirt, Jamrock Grimsley. We don't know what he's going to be. Ben Hanks III, true freshman. Ones Konanbani, true freshman. Teddy Foster, redshirt freshman. Javari Flowers, true freshman. There's a bunch of, like, Cormani, you could say, hey, Cormani looked really good. You could say that. It wouldn't be true. He didn't look bad. I'm not saying that. But there were clear weaknesses in his game last year. Made tremendous plays on the ball. All that absolutely true and accurate, yes. But I'm not going to pretend that he was, a perfect player when he wasn't, and that's okay. But you got that at corner. Means your depth, not a single proven player there. You look at first off, also at star, Aaron Gates, tremendous, but is he going to be out there ready to go? I know that they're saying that, yeah, he's on track with his with his rehabbing. He's on track with his recovery. But what does that really mean as far as him being ready to play full games during the season? I know that Billy was like, oh, yeah, he's been working fully. I'll believe it when I see it. I want him out there. I think that if you can find a way to get Sharif and Aaron Gates on the field at the same time consistently, you're going to be a much better football team because of it. Safety, you're going to have Michael Caraway Jr. You're going to have Drake Stubbs. You're going to have Lagonza Hayward, Alfonso Allen Jr. Alfonso Allen Jr. is the one that you know the most about as a player because he actually played last year with Michael Caraway Jr. was with Southern Miss, and Lagonza Hayward and Hilton Stubbs, Drake Stubbs, were high schoolers last year. You don't know what you got. Billy Napier mentioned, and while talking, really put an emphasis on the defensive front. I think that's how you hide any of the concerns in the secondary. A really good front, really good pass rush, get to the quarterback. And that, I know that a great coverage unit can mask a bad pass rush a little bit, but a great pass rush can really mask a bad secondary. And I don't think the secondary is bad at all, but I do think that if you get to a point where some of the guys have to play and they're very unproven, it's nice to know that, hey, we're actually going to have at least some protection because of this really good pass rush. I think you can say that. One thing that was very interesting for me with the defensive line weight changes was that Brian Taylor Jr. and Jeremiah McLeod both gained 15 plus pounds from the spring. Brian Taylor Jr. gained 16, Jeremiah McLeod gained 15. And the thought that went to my head immediately was that can be really helpful for when you want to go light. If you want to go into a obvious passing situation, you can go into it and say, hey, well, we could put Brian Taylor Jr. at nose tackle if we want. He came into Florida or he came into the 2024 fall camp at 274 pounds. He's up 20 pounds since then. You really have a much better chance or a much better case for saying, hey, what if we played you as a light nose tackle in obvious passing situations? Him and Jeremiah McLeod as a true freshman, because don't forget, nose tackle is a thing we've talked about where depth is a bit concerning. Absolutely. It's just unproven. We don't know what Jamari Lyons is going to be full-time. He looked really good toward the end of 2023, but missed all of 2024. So we don't know what he's going to be there either. So I do think that my hope is the pass rush and the defensive front can help mask any DB deficiencies that this team may have. But for starters, I'm not really concerned about it. When we talk about the starting lineup, I'm not really concerned about the secondary. Sure, some people are. Not me. I get it that some people wanted upgrades at safety. I thought you could upgrade at safety too, in the sense of bring in a starter quality player to compete, and just whoever earns a starting spot earns a starting spot. Obviously, that's not what happened, but you've got still starter quality players. I just wanted another one added into the mix. And an outside corner, ton of talent, right? And Billy Napier very openly was like, hey, we need to get some of these young DBs up to speed. Because you've got enough, and this is a thing that I know that I'm the guy where we talk about having expectations for players, and we go, okay, well, not everybody's going to reach those expectations, right? I feel like people hear that and think that I'm being pessimistic. I'm being realistic. Not everybody's going to reach those expectations. But guess what? Some guys are going to reach expectations, and some guys are going to exceed them. You've got enough youth where you can say, hey, we're probably going to have at least one guy pop off. I think Cormani, that guy, obviously, because he's been in the system, he can do that. But I think that you could also look at like a Ben Hanks, Jamrock Grimsley, most likely ones to take a big step. And Teddy Foster was always, hey, if we can get him to hit, he's going to be really good. Hopefully, you can get him to hit. We're going to talk about the safety room because there's another couple changes coming that way when we get back with Locked On Gators. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. And to wrap up today's show, we are going to talk about a slight change, I guess we'll call it, from yesterday. Because yesterday's show, we talked about the roster change with Asa Turner, right? And it was reported that Asa Turner was going to be coming back, and it was reported by Zach Goodall of Swamp 24/7 that Asa Turner was going to be coming back to the Florida Gators, which, by the way, shout out Zach for being the host of Locked On Gators before I got here. Fun fact, if you didn't know that. But yesterday, the roster came out, and it was quick to notice that Asa Turner was not on the roster. And then during the press conference, someone, I don't know who, asked Billy Napier about Asa Turner not being on the roster. And when we saw Asa not on the roster, at first, my thought was, and I sent it to the insiders, was, I don't know what's going on with it. Because my thought was maybe they're saying, hey, they're expecting him to come back, or maybe they're saying, hey, they're hoping he comes back, or maybe they're saying, hey, if he's cleared to come back, he's going to be back with the team. Don't know exactly what it was, right? But Billy Napier, during the press conference, when he was asked about Asa Turner, he made a very important note that I do think is like context matters on everything, right? And he mentioned that, Asa Turner and Billy Napier met yesterday before the press conferences, before the roster came out, all that, and said Asa Turner will be transitioning out of football. And it's the ugly part of football, right? It's the especially brutal part of football where you never want to see it. But Asa Turner, and Billy Napier said, Asa Turner, 3 years of significant injuries. He just wasn't the same player that he was at Washington. And that absolutely sucks, right? I know that there's plenty of people who didn't like Asa Turner, who were very sour on him. But even if you don't like a player, like you don't want their career to end because of injuries, right? Like I think, and that maybe that's me. If that's you, then you're just built different. That's fine. It's not fine. I'm absolutely judging you for that. But Asa Turner will not be back, and you hate to see a player, regardless of how good or bad they are, have their career ended because of injuries. Especially in college, like so young. But that's the ugly, brutal truth about football. It happens all the time. At every level of football, injuries happen, and guys are like, you know what? I'm not what I used to be. Even if I can play, like I'm just not myself. I'm not where I can be, and that's not a spot that I want to be at. And so Asa Turner is again transitioning from football, which I basically take as medically retiring, because he's just not the guy that he once was at Washington, and that sucks. There's just no other way to put it, but it's the brutal reality that is playing football. And Zach Goodall had also tweeted yesterday, like he was like, look, like it was always fluid, but the plan was to return, and then when they met on Tuesday morning, that changed. And that happens, right? Like how often do we hear things and all of a sudden the next day and it's like, well, no, that's actually not the case anymore. All the time. Just hope that Asa can figure out something. If he wants to get into coaching, get into coaching. If he's going to just get into the workforce in any way, then just get into the workforce in any way. But it absolutely sucks to see a guy's career ended because of injury. Like you just want people to be able to go out on their own terms, right? Even if he was like, you know what, I'm not myself. I'm not the guy I used to be. I'm gonna retire here after the year. Then sure, but it's brutal. On the opposite side of that, Michael Caraway Jr., cornerback from Southern Miss, is moving to safety full time, which I think is a great move for him. When he came over, I was saying that I'm fine with him at safety. I'm fine with him at nickel. I don't want him at outside corner. And he went through the spring at outside corner and now is moving to safety full time. I do think that 1, it's a great move for him. 2, it's a great move for the team. And 3, it wouldn't shock me if they were like, hey, Asa's not coming back. So if you want to move to safety full time, that'd be great. You'll get more playing opportunities than you would at outside corner. And we'll be able to get you on the field there more consistently. So I do think that's the case there. Again, it's not that he's bad. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's an SEC outside corner. I think that the versatility is great. I don't think he's Triquez Bridges, which, again, Triquez Bridges was an anomaly, right? A guy who never really played at Oregon, was playing out of position at Oregon, comes to Florida, is playing safety, his natural position, then moves to outside corner and ends up becoming an NFL draft pick and is making plays in camp. Like it's a unicorn story. It's never going to be replicated. But Michael Caraway Jr. is in a better position to succeed now, and the entire Florida Gators team is in a better position to succeed now. And they still have that new experienced face in the secondary, in the safety room, that can help these young guys take the next step. And again, Michael Caraway Jr. could easily be safety 3 now. He could. I'm not saying he can't. He could be safety 5. He could be safety 6. But he could also be safety 3 if it comes to it. And I'm looking forward to that because I do think that he's got at least more potential at safety. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, whether it's the podcast and on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow. Locked On's got their top 100 list coming out, and we're probably going to rip into that. It comes out at 10 a.m. Eastern time today, Wednesday, July 30th, and we're probably going to rip into it tomorrow. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work for New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.